how does this perform on the highway. So let's straight get on to that. Wow, and welcome back to Weekend on Wheels, and I'm Girish, and today I have an epic comparison between two motorcycles, which is the BS6 Xpulse versus BS4 Xpulse, and what are the main differences between the BS4 and the BS6, and is there a difference in the way it performs, and what are the aesthetic changes that have been done on the motorcycle. We'll talk about that right after this intro video. So here we have two beautiful machines, which is the white BS4 Xpulse and the black BS6 Xpulse. So let's get a little up close and personal and tell you guys what are the basic differences between these both. Before that, let's talk about the power of these two machines. So one is the BS4, which is at 18 horsepower, and then the new one BS6 is detuned to 17.8 horsepower, and this have also changed the way it performs on the RPMs as well. So this is 18 horsepower at 8,000 RPM, and that one is at 8,500 RPM. And also talking about the torque, the BS4 is 17.1 Newton meter torque at 6,500 RPM, and you have the BS6 is at 16.7 Newton meter torque at 4,000 RPM. So those are the basic performance or the number differences which have come in these motorcycles. And now let's get a little close and tell you more. So let's come here. So the minute you look at it, the very evident change what you can see is on the exhaust front. So the new BS6 has the new catalytic converter which has been installed on this, and this is the FI one, and in the BS6 you just have the FI version only. And when you come back to the BS4, you have the regular bend pipe which goes in and connects. And when they were in market, the BS4, you had both FI version and also the carburetor version, but now they've only got the FI version. So that's the basic difference. And a lot of people might have a question saying that with the new change in the design of the exhaust, would it reduce the clearance? But then, as per the company claims, there has not been any changes in terms of the clearance. The clearance remains the same, and they also come up with a 21 wheel in the front and a 18-inch wheel in the rear. Similarly, on the BS4 as well, you have the 21-inch wheel in the front and the 18-inch wheel in the rear. Now coming on to the headlight, they have the same LED headlights both on the BS4 as well as on the BS6. Not much of a change, it's similar. And in the BS6, the weight of the motorcycle has increased by 2 kilos compared to the BS4 version. Now from the sitting point of view, it's the same sitting posture. There has not been much changes, it's exactly the same. Now let's talk about the console and the odo bit. So this gets a complete digital odo, and you have the RPM here, kilometers here, you have the trip meter here, and also the time, and you can also get the gear indicator also here. And you get a lot of trip information on this side. Coming on to your left hand side, you have the left, right and right indicator, horn button, and the high beam and the low beam. Going on to your right hand side, you have the kill switch on and off, and similarly the start button, and this is for the BS6. And there has been exactly the same, not much change on the BS4, nothing changed here as well, so it is exactly the same. The sitting position is absolutely the same, no changes from the sitting postures as well. And let's ride this also and tell you what are the changes that you feel when you ride. So I'm going to do a little bit of trail riding to tell you its off-road capability, and you can see the trail right behind that beautiful trail. So we would be doing a little bit of trail and also tell you the highway riding capability of this motorcycle. How does this perform on the highway? So let's straight get on to that. So I'm gonna ride the BS6 version of the Xpulse and do a small trail and tell you how does this feel, and then come back and immediately ride the BS4 version and tell you if there is any difference in terms of the way it handles and the way gear ratios and all of it. So let's do that. So now let's ride this motorcycle, the BS6 Xpulse, and tell you how does this motorcycle ride and how does it take on the trail. So the initial throttle response of this motorcycle is very good, and the best part is you get enough power as you throttle this. So the feel of the throttle is very good, and look at this road, taking on such roads is not at all a problem. So I'm doing a small trail to give you a gist of what this motorcycle can do and how does this motorcycle feel. So getting onto any kind of gravel stuff, the way you can see it, is very easy, very comfortable, and also when you have a incline, the throttle response of the BS6 is so good that you get immediate power so that you can get onto any of such situation and come out of it without any problem. And also the refinement seems to be evident on the BS6. You can see the engine is much more smoother, much more refined, and also the way this motorcycle can take on bad roads is mind-blowing. This can get onto any bad roads because of the 21-inch wheel in the front and the 18-inch wheel in the rear. It works in absolute synergy, and also the braking of this motorcycle, it is a single channel ABS. The braking is also sufficient, and it has a good bite. The overall performance, when you talk about the way this motorcycle handles, is very neat, and also because of the lightweight it has, you can easily get onto any kind of trails or any kind of bad roads. And if you get onto the rally kit, you can do some hardcore off-roading as well. So that way this motorcycle performs very good and has a very good mid-range as well. The best part of the BS6, or the one which I'm riding, is that the refinement what they've gone through. I am gonna ride next the BS4 and also tell you the differences between the BS6 as well as the BS4. How does this change, and you know what is that. But in terms of performance wise, this is a beast of a performance motorcycle when it comes to bad roads or the roads that you can see or any kind of trails. In the current Indian market, this is one of the best motorcycle in the 200 segment that you can look at purchasing, or keep your eyes on and look at buying this without an issue at all. Look at the kind of roads that we are doing now. Look at this trail, it gets onto all of this without a problem. And now I'm back at my start point, and without wasting any time, let's stop this motorcycle here itself and get on to the BS4 Xpulse. So now let's ride the BS4 Xpulse and tell you what's the difference between the BS4 versus BS6. Let's go now. The very first thing that you can make out is the initial throttle response. So in BS6 it's much more peppier compared to the BS4 version of it. So now getting on to these, the performance wise, both of the motorcycles are exactly the same. There's not too much of a difference, but I felt the BS6 was more responsive because the throttle response is much more quicker on the BS6 compared to the BS4. So especially when you're doing such inclines, you need immediate power. Just by accelerating on the BS6, you get immediate power, and you can get through any kind of condition. Not that you can't do on this also does exactly the same without any sweat, but then I'm just giving the detailed differences between each of this. What is the difference that you feel when you ride? So again, look at this motorcycle. The BS4 gets onto any kind of obstacles or any kind of bad roads without any problem, gets onto its groove very quickly, and like I mentioned, any bad roads, any off-road condition, no sweat at all. These motorcycles can take it without a problem at all. Another thing that you feel the difference is the engine. So this engine feels a little rough compared to the BS6. The BS6 one is much more refined, very smooth, and also this is air cooled compared to the BS6, which is the oil cooled. So that way you see, when you go on higher RPM or when you want to rev on the higher RPMs, this struggles. The BS4 struggles compared to the BS6. In BS6, up till 7000 RPM it goes absolutely smooth, and you can go up till 8000 RPM the peak revving. And also there, once you reach beyond 8000, it struggles, but then it reaches there immediately. But on this, the BS4 one slightly struggles while you do that. So the main difference that you feel when you're doing such kind of roads is the initial throttle response that you get, and also the other thing that you really want to feel is the engine. In terms of BS6, engine feels much more refined and much more peppier compared to the BS4. But when you look at performance wise, both of these motorcycles are beast of a performers. They do exactly the same. You will not know much of it unless you do a side-by-side comparison. So that way, not much of a difference. But then otherwise, yes, the major differences that you feel there in BS4, in BS6, your initial response, or there is a better throttle response, and that's what I wanted to tell. And here I am back now again, and it was a short trail to give you quick update on what these motorcycles are capable of, and tell you what these can do. So now let's talk about the BS6. Well, compared to the BS4, I felt BS6 was much more peppier and also has a good low end torque compared to the BS4. That I can tell you definitely, because I've done a side to side riding, and also you've already seen that video. And now coming on to this one, this exactly handles rides similar like this. There's not much of a change, but then like I mentioned, this feels slightly underpowered the way the current one has been designed, or the way the current FI performance has been tuned into. So this looks a little bit slightly underpowered. So that's the main difference. Otherwise, both of these are one of the fantastic machines that you can own. And with that, I call an end to this video. I hope you guys like this video. At any given point of time, if you had liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and also hit the bell icon to get an update on every video I post. Until the next one, please stay at home, stay safe, vaccinate yourself. Bye bye.